Carter is gone. Rob, Will is dead, and the Dutton family is facing an enemy unlike anything they have ever seen before. After the shocking Season 1 finale, Mariano now has the power to destroy everything Beth and Rip have built. But there is one hidden detail from the finale that could completely change the battle ahead, and it may reveal who has the real advantage when Season 2 begins: the Dutton Ranch. Season 1 finale didn't just end a story, it opened a war. After 9 episodes of family secrets, brutal decisions, and dangerous enemies closing in from every direction, the final moments changed everything for Beth Rip and everyone connected to the ranch. The battle they thought they had survived was only the beginning because the biggest threat was still standing, and he had already made his first move. For most of the season, Beth and Rip were fighting to protect their home, their people, and the legacy they were trying to build. But when they discovered that the stolen cattle from Mexico were connected to a much larger criminal operation, the situation became far more dangerous than anyone expected. What looked like a simple conflict over livestock quickly turned into something much darker. The cattle were being used as part of a smuggling operation, and once that secret was exposed, Beth and Rip became a target. They understood one important thing immediately. People involved in that kind of operation do not simply walk away when their plans are threatened. They protect their business at any cost, and that meant the Dutton Ranch was no longer just dealing with local enemies. They were facing a powerful organization with resources, connections, and no hesitation about using violence. At the same time, another conflict was growing behind the scenes. After Beulah transferred control of the 10-petal ranch to Rob Will, tensions exploded. Waqen felt betrayed, and his anger pushed him toward a decision that would change the future of everyone involved. Instead of handling the situation himself, he reached out to Mariano, a man who quickly proved that he was willing to cross any line to get what he wanted. Mariano's arrival completely changed the balance of power. He was not interested in negotiations or warnings. His mission was simple: recover what was stolen, eliminate anyone who stood in his way, and make sure nobody challenged his control again. The first person caught in that storm was Rob Will. His death became one of the most shocking moments of the finale because it showed exactly what kind of enemy Mariano really was. It was not just about revenge, it was about sending a message. Mariano wanted everyone to understand that he was not someone they could ignore. But while everyone was focused on the violence surrounding Rob Will, another devastating move was happening in the shadows. Carter was taken, and that changed everything. For Beth and Rip, losing Carter was not just another attack. It was personal. They had already fought against enemies who wanted to hurt them, but this time, someone had taken someone they considered family. Mariano was no longer trying to intimidate them from a distance. He had found the one thing that could force them to react emotionally. The final moments of the season left fans with a terrifying question: how far will Beth and Rip go to bring Carter home? Because anyone who knows Beth and Rip understands one thing: they do not forgive easily, and they do not forget. When someone threatens their family, they become more dangerous than the people coming after them. But the situation is complicated. Charging directly into Mariano's territory could be exactly what he wants. He has the advantage, he knows the battlefield, and he has people willing to do anything for him. A direct attack could turn into a trap. That is why Season 2 could become a completely different kind of battle. Instead of a simple revenge story, it could become a strategic war where every decision has consequences. And while Carter's kidnapping became the biggest question heading into the next season, another mystery remains unanswered. Who really killed Rob Will? At first glance, the evidence seems to point toward Waqen. He had the anger, the motivation, and the connection to the situation. But there is another possibility that changes everything. What if Waqen was never capable of taking that final step? What if Mariano understood that and secretly handled the situation himself? Because if that is true, then Waqen may not be Mariano's partner. He may actually be another person being controlled by him. And that small detail could become one of the most important pieces of the entire Season 2 storyline. because the biggest danger to the Dutton family may not only be the enemy standing in front of them, it may be the people standing beside them. And as Season 2 begins, one question remains unanswered. Who will break first? Beth and Rip trying to save Carter, or Mariano trying to destroy everything they have left? The Season 1 finale left viewers with one obvious question. How will Beth and Rip rescue Carter? But hidden underneath all the chaos is another question that could completely change the direction of Season 2. Who is actually controlling the situation? At first, Mariano appears to be the final boss of this story. He arrives with power confidence and a clear goal. He knows exactly what he wants, and he is willing to use fear to get it. But the finale quietly suggests something much more complicated. Mariano may not just be another villain who creates problems for the Dutton family. He may be someone who understands people's weaknesses and uses those weaknesses against them. That is what makes him dangerous. The most important detail many viewers may have overlooked is the way Mariano handled Waqen. Instead of simply attacking everyone involved, Mariano created a situation where people started turning against each other. He allowed anger, jealousy, and fear to do most of the work for him. That strategy is important because it separates Mariano from a typical enemy. A normal villain attacks from the outside. Mariano appears to attack from within. He does not only want to defeat his opponents physically, he wants to break their relationships, their trust, and their ability to fight back. And that could become a major problem for Beth and Rip, because the Dutton family has always survived because of loyalty. They may disagree, they may make mistakes, and they may have complicated relationships, but when someone threatens one of their own, they unite. Mariano understands that, which means his best chance of winning may not be by defeating Beth and Rip directly. His best chance may be by making them question the people around them. This is where Waqen's role becomes extremely interesting. Many viewers believe Waqen is simply the person responsible for Rob Will's death. After all, he had the strongest emotional reason to want revenge. But the finale also showed something important about him. He is not as cold and calculated as Mariano. Waqen reacts emotionally. Mariano does not. That difference could become one of the biggest weaknesses in Mariano's plan. If Waqen starts realizing that he was manipulated, he could become the one person who knows how to hurt Mariano from the inside. And that possibility creates a much bigger storyline for Season 2. What if the person Mariano trusted most becomes the person who eventually betrays him? It would fit perfectly with the themes of the show. Throughout the story, characters have constantly been forced to choose between power and loyalty. Some characters chase control, while others eventually realize that family matters more. Waqen could find himself facing that exact choice. But there is another hidden detail connected to Carter's kidnapping that could be even more important. Carter is not just a victim in this story. His connection to Oriana changes everything. The finale revealed that Oriana is pregnant, and the possibility that Carter is the father creates a completely different emotional conflict. Until now, the battle between the Duttons and Mariano has been about revenge territory and power. But now there is something more personal involved. There is a future generation connected to this conflict. If Oriana discovers that Carter has been taken, her reaction could completely change the balance of power. She is connected to both sides of the conflict. She understands Mariano's world, but she also has a reason to protect Carter. That creates a situation where someone who was once connected to the enemy could become an unexpected ally. And that may be the biggest hidden opportunity for Beth and Rip, because they cannot defeat Mariano only through strength. They need people who understand how he thinks, how he operates, and where his weaknesses are. Oriana could become one of those people. Another detail worth watching is the possibility of connections between different Yellowstone universe stories. Fans have already noticed possible links between characters and locations, and some theories suggest that another storyline could eventually connect with the Dutton Ranch conflict. One popular theory involves Tate and a possible situation that could bring another rescue mission into the story. However, this remains only a theory, and there is no confirmed information that such a crossover will happen. But if the writers decide to connect these stories, it could create a much bigger event. Instead of one family fighting one enemy, we could see multiple characters joining forces against a common threat. That possibility would completely change the scale of the story. Because right now, Mariano believes he has control. He has Carter. He has power. He believes Beth and Rip are trapped. But the hidden detail from the finale is that Mariano may have created his own biggest problem. By attacking Carter, he did not just hurt the Dutton family, he gave them a reason to unite. And throughout this entire universe, the most dangerous thing anyone can do is give the Duttons a reason to fight together. But the real question is whether they can save Carter before Mariano's plan reaches the next stage. Because if Mariano is already thinking several steps ahead, the rescue mission could become the most dangerous fight Beth and Rip have ever faced. After everything that happened in the Season 1 finale, one thing is clear. Season 2 will not simply continue the same conflict. The entire balance of power has changed. Beth and Rip are no longer protecting the ranch from a distant threat. They are now dealing with an enemy who has taken something they deeply care about, and that changes the way they will approach the fight. The biggest question heading into the new season is simple. Will Beth and Rip go directly after Mariano, or will they realize that patience and strategy are their only chance of winning? A direct attack would be the most emotional choice. After Carter is kidnapped, anyone who knows Beth and Rip understands that they will want immediate revenge. They are not the type of people who sit back and wait when someone hurts their family. Their first instinct will likely be to find Carter and bring him home as quickly as possible. But this could also be exactly what Mariano expects. Mariano has already shown that he thinks differently from his enemies. He does not act randomly. He watches plans and waits for the right moment to strike. If Beth and Rip rush into his territory without a plan, they could walk directly into the trap he has prepared. That is why it is possible that Season 2 will focus less on a traditional revenge war and more on a psychological battle. Beth has always been one of the smartest characters in the story. She understands that winning a fight is not always about having more weapons or more people. Sometimes the person who controls the information controls the entire situation, and right now Mariano believes he controls everything. But he may have underestimated the people he is fighting. One possible theory is that Beth and Rip will not try to destroy Mariano immediately. Instead, they could attempt to turn his own organization against him. The biggest weakness of powerful people is often the people closest to them. If Beth can create doubt between Mariano and his allies, she may be able to weaken him without starting an all-out war. This is where Waqen becomes extremely important. If Waqen discovers that Mariano used him, his entire perspective could change. He may realize that Rob Will's death was not really about helping him gain power. It was about using his anger as a weapon. And if that happens, Waqen could become one of Mariano's biggest problems. It is possible that Season 2 will show Waqen slowly moving away from Mariano and becoming an unexpected ally for Beth and Rip. Not because he suddenly becomes a hero, but because he finally understands that Mariano never saw him as family or a partner. He was only a tool. Another major theory involves Oriana. Her character could become much more important than viewers expect. The pregnancy reveal was not just an emotional moment. It creates a connection between the two sides of the conflict. Oriana is connected to Mariano's world, but she also has a personal reason to want Carter alive. If Carter is truly the father of her child, then his survival becomes more than just a rescue mission. It becomes about protecting the future of two families that are currently at war. This could create one of the most interesting conflicts in Season 2. Will Oriana choose her past, or will she choose Carter? Because if she turns against Mariano, she could provide Beth and Rip with something they desperately need: information. She knows how Mariano thinks. She understands his people. She knows the dangers they are facing, but helping Carter could also put her directly in danger. Mariano has already shown that he does not hesitate when someone challenges him. If Oriana stands against him, he may see it as betrayal. And that creates another possible storyline. Mariano losing control because the people closest to him begin questioning his decisions. There is also the possibility of a larger crossover within the Yellowstone universe. Some fans have theorized that another storyline could connect with Carter's kidnapping and create a larger rescue mission. While there is currently no confirmation that this will happen, it would make sense from a storytelling perspective. A situation involving multiple kidnapped characters could force different parts of the Dutton world to come together. Imagine Beth and Rip trying to rescue Carter while another group faces a similar mission somewhere else. It would create a much bigger conflict and raise the stakes beyond one ranch. But even without a crossover, Season 2 already has enough tension to carry the story forward. The most interesting possibility is that Carter's kidnapping may not end with a simple rescue. It could permanently change every character involved. Carter has spent much of the story learning what it means to be part of the Dutton family. He has seen their strength, their loyalty, and their willingness to fight. But surviving Mariano could force him to grow